Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by thesoberclub.com. I'm Janey Grace. This is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. I'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there'll be inspiration from experts, quit-lit authors, and sober heroes. Hi and welcome to the podcast. How you doing? I hope you're well. It's actually the second time I'm recording this because the first time the whole recording was, disrupted. The whole file was disrupted. So I don't know if I'm going to remember all the stuff I spoke about before, but there you go. You get it second time around. Stuff happens, doesn't it? Just you get gremlins in technology. I really hope you're well. And if you are in the States or you've been celebrating Thanksgiving, I hope you're having a good holiday, and I hope you're remembering to keep the ritual, change the ingredients, you know the stuff I bang on about continuously. It's been a big week in the UK in terms of press around alcohol. I don't know if you've seen some of this stuff. I mean, I can barely contain myself really with some of it, not least the piece that came out at the beginning of the week, which declared, who knew the legal age for drinking at home in the UK is, wait for it, 5. I mean, who knew? I mean, I'm not suggesting that means that everyone is given their 5-year-old drinks, but just the fact that is law is just... it's utterly bizarre. And Dr. Eric Sigman, whose work I love, psychologist Dr. Eric Sigman, has been basically challenging this ridiculous legal drinking age, and basically saying, look, this is not helpful in this war against alcohol and all of the issues that it brings. I mean, let's not sugarcoat this. Alcohol is the number one most harmful drug. When you take into account everything, harm to the economy, harm to families, harm to the health service, and on and on. And this whole idea of giving children a little bit of wine to get them used to it or whatever, it's just such BS. I've mentioned before that I once went to something at my daughter's school that she went to for a while, and there was a parents' evening where they were looking at responsible drugs and alcohol use, and the whole kind of conversation was around, well, at what age, is it 12, is it 13, at what age do we give them a bit of wine with Sunday lunch to get them used to it? What? I mean, just replace that word with heroin or cocaine. Or we just give them a bit to get them used to it. What? How about modelling behaviour that shows that you don't need a toxic substance to be able to live your life fully, even if it is legal? Even if it is, right? Even if it's the done thing, even if it's what everyone does societally for commiserations and celebrations, for God's sake, we need to change this narrative. We really do. Told you I'd get on another rant. And Eric Sigman, bless him, he's on the all-party parliamentary group on fit and healthy childhood, and he's saying children's doctors in the UK have absolutely got to take a stronger steer here in helping ward off future problems with alcohol. I mean, your brain isn't fully developed till, 2021 or something. So imagine just having your little sips of wine so that once you come of age, oh great, well, I'm used to it now and that's the done thing. I've heard all the arguments that say, oh well, if you do that it means you'll drink moderately. No, I don't believe that. I think you might for a while, but what I believe is that, what will happen is if you do that, you will really strongly cement those associations in your unconscious mind that drinking is what adults do. If we're having lunch together, if we're celebrating, if we're meeting other adults in a social situation, we need alcohol. That's the message that will be firmly imprinted. And then as you get older, even if you drink moderately to start with, at some point it will kick in. At some point down that spectrum, you will go from, being at the very top of the spectrum, perfectly okay, just a couple of glasses here and there, and you'll slip further down that booze elevator. Well, it's what's happened to a lot of us, right? If it's never happened to you, if you really are a mindful drinker, I hate that expression really, because I don't know that it works. I used to say, I have said that I'm a mindful kiwi fruit eater. I'm mindful about my kiwi fruits, you might argue, in the sense that I don't care if I have them or not. I'll have one, and if it so happens that somebody offers me another one, there isn't anything else, I might even have two. And then I might go out and have a fruit salad. But I'm certainly not going to agonise over whether I can have one the next day. Might not have another one for a year. It really isn't a thing for me. But if alcohol is a thing for you and you've got that voice in your head, that's probably why you're listening to this podcast, or at least it was at some point. So, of course, we don't want to get into this thing of letting children have some alcohol to get them used to it. Far better to show them how much life can be, how much better life can be without all of that nonsense. So anyways, I'm really pleased that Eric Sigmund is going to come on the podcast and chat about this. I have interviewed him before. He's written a book called Alcohol Nation. This really is his thing. And he's a fascinating guy, and you can scroll right back through my podcast archives and listen to that interview with Eric. He's a great guest. So looking forward to speaking with him again. I'm sure he'll have some fascinating insights for us. And then there was another piece in the press this week, which, again, just knocked me for six. And I realised it's one of those pieces that a few years ago, 6 years ago, I'd have loved it. I'd have dined out on this piece, literally. Talking about a study that revealed that drinking a glass of wine with dinner, not just saying, well, it's not too bad for you, actually saying it could stave off dementia. That was actually what the piece said. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. They're literally encouraging it as part of a healthy lifestyle. And the study they did was with a piffling number of people. I think it was 96 people or something, people who were aged 60 or just over 60 who did not have dementia. And what they were looking for, of course, was the antioxidant flavonoids. That's what they were talking about. And they find that those people didn't have dementia, and they looked at their diet, I suppose, and found that, on balance, it was a glass of wine with dinner. Now, we don't know exactly how many dinners or how many glasses of wine, but we could assume that those people really were the mindful drinkers I've just mentioned, and they can absolutely take it or leave it. I doubt very much whether any of the people in that study were the way I used to be 6 years ago, which of course I would say I was a glass of wine with dinner kind of person, but I'd happen to just conveniently forget that after I'd had that glass of wine with dinner, I'd have to polish off another one while I did the washing up. And then, there's a bit left in the bottle. I mean, it'd be rude not to, not to mention, I had some at lunchtime, and on and on. I just don't believe this stuff at all. Ultimately, the bottom line here, this is my opinion, the bottom line here is those people were healthy and did not have dementia because they were healthy generally, because of other lifestyle factors, because they probably had a good mindset. They weren't lonely. Their well-being was good, their emotional well-being. They probably ate a really healthy, decent diet. They got enough sleep. They got fresh air. They got some exercise. It was all of that stuff. It was despite the glass of wine, not because of it. And if you want antioxidant flavonoids, then have your tea, have your spinach, have your broccoli, have your kale. If you want resveratrol, have a grape. Right? But you don't need the toxic liquid. I'd be very happy to debate this with, if any experts listening want to debate this, bring it on. I feel so strongly about this, and particularly since the interview I did with Dr. Anya Topiwala. If you haven't listened to that interview, please do. Please scroll back and have a listen to that interview. She pulls no punches. Most of these kind of experts who do these studies, they're very cautious, and it's not a causal link, and we're not sure, and of course we don't know, might be beneficial. No, she tells it like it is. Alcohol has zero benefits, right? Got that? Zero benefits. That's it. And these kinds of bits of old puff in the press are just so unhelpful. There you go. I managed to rant a second time. I wanted to tell you as well that I did a TV piece a few weeks ago. I recorded a TV piece with Dr. Sian Williams on a programme called Mind Matters. It's an insert into Channel 5 News, and it's going to be going out this Wednesday, I think. So try and catch that if you can. I'm thrilled that they asked me, I have to say, because anything that allows this message to get out there about grey area drinkers, about people who are on that spectrum, not just the people at rock bottom, I think is so beneficial. So I'm grateful they invited me. So much in the media is they only talk about those who are literally at rock bottom. So we listen to these episodes of The Archers, or we watch EastEnders, and part of us thinks, oh, thank God I'm not as bad as that. I'm not drinking in secret. I'm not hiding everything. I'm not that bad. Great, bring it on. But when we talk more about the fact that it's insidious and it's grey area drinkers and that life can be better without booze, that's when we start to get the message out there and change the conversation. And I think I mentioned that I met Scott Mitchell while I was there, and I've met Scott before at BBC Radio 2, and of course Scott was the partner of Barbara Windsor, and has written just such a lovely book. And I discovered that he'd been sober for absolutely years, so what better than to get Scott on the podcast? So he's agreed, and I'm going to bring you that today. I know you're going to really love that interview, and the book is just a beautiful book. It really is. Just before we do that, I just want to remind you of a couple of dates. I'm going to be doing an online masterclass, you might want to call it, session, chat, I don't know, Q&A as well, called Bossing a Sober Christmas. Now, some of you heard the interview I did last week with Susan from Hola Sober. Lots of tips and ideas there for how you can prep. But we're going to go much more in depth. I'm going to share some techniques that can really help you reduce your stress and anxiety if this is a tricky time for you. How you can manage family dynamics, because let's face it, if this is your first sober Christmas, there's probably going to be a little bit of nerves and a little bit of just trepidation around what's going to happen. So we'll definitely sign all of that off. But even if you've been sober for months or years and it's not your first sober Christmas, there may still be a little bit of a wobble, because let's face it can be such a stressful time, with family, with friends, with alcohol playing such a central part, with other people's stuff coming in the whole time. And if you've just spent the last year really working on yourself, it can be a bit of a shock to the system. So we're going to do a few kind of tips and techniques to help you feel really centred through the festive period. And even if you're going to be on your own at Christmas, well, even more reason to shore yourself up, right? And check that you know how to bring yourself back to that lovely balance. So that's on Saturday, the 3rd of December. Pretty sure we've nailed the time at 5 p.m. So if you go to thesoberclub.com, it'll be up there in a couple of days. You'll be able to register for that online session, Saturday, 3rd of December at 5 p.m. We are going to be doing a Constellations online session in December as well. We did one last week. It was fantastic. But people from 3 continents, and it was just amazing how the energy still works. So we're going to do family constellations in December, and there'll be one in person in January as well. And I'm going to organise some kind of meetup, probably in London before Christmas. So that's a lot of dates thrown at you there. But right now, enjoy the interview. I am so pleased that I have the lovely Scott Mitchell here, campaigner, author of the fantastic new book. I'm absolutely loving it, Scott. It's just great. By Your Side, My Life Loving Barbara Windsor. Scott, thank you so much for agreeing to chat to me.
Absolute pleasure, Janey. It's lovely to see you.
Yeah, it's lovely to see you. So we've met, obviously, at BBC Radio 2 a few times. Yeah. And then we met again a little while ago at Channel 5, wasn't it? Channel 5.
Dr. Sean.
Dr. Sean. Yeah. Great show. What a great show. So, so I was talking about positive sobriety, and you were there talking about this book, and I thought, it'd just be so great to get you on, particularly when I found out that you'd been sober for years and years and years. So we definitely,
it was, wasn't it?
Oh
it was
my
just
God,
one of those,
amazing,
those coincidences.
Yeah, incredible. So so thank you for being willing to chat to me, because I think, obviously there isn't anyone who didn't love Barbara. I mean, really, seriously, there really isn't, is there? There just isn't anyone.
She did have the most fantastic rapport with people. She really did. And it kind of didn't matter. She went across the board.
She did, yeah. I remember when I very first started working at Virgin Radio, and that was a lot of years ago. My goodness, must have been 2000, maybe 2000, something like that. It was an awful long time ago. And Barbara, when did she start on EastEnders? Because she
started on EastEnders in 1994.
Okay, so it was either 2000 or maybe just a little bit before that. And her cab driver, who used to pick her up most mornings for EastEnders, used to take me to Virgin, and he could, every single time he picked me up, we had the whole conversation about Barbara. He'd be saying, oh, this morning she was a bit tired, and he just loved her. She was so lovely to him. So lovely. And that's how you know, isn't it? When someone, okay, big time celeb, but you know what? You're kind to everyone.
Oh God, she was absolutely adamant about it, and she was genuinely interested in other people. I mean, the first thing she'd say when we got into a taxi or a car, she'd want to ask the driver, "So where do you live, darling? Have you got family?"
Brilliant.
She wanted to find out about them before they kind of asked her the obvious questions that they would.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was very genuine. It wasn't anything she put on for effect. It's who she was.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact that, with this book, you've told obviously some fabulous stories, as obviously about how you met and just all kinds of stuff that we love to read. And oh my God, there's some great photos in there. Oh my God, that picture of the two of you dressed as a pearly king and queen.
I know. Well, that was
how cool is that?
That was Elton John's 50th birthday party.
That's such a cool picture. I mean, really, the pictures are amazing. And I know that Barbara actually asked you to write this book, didn't she?
Yeah, she did. She had always predicted to me that they would. I'll tell you how it started. And it's quite interesting because it kind of goes hand in hand with many things about sobriety in my eyes. Because I once said to Barbara, I said, Barb, why do you feel you have to be so honest in your books and your interviews? And she said, I'll tell you why, Scott. She said, because I'm the one who has to look in the mirror.
Yeah.
She said, I'm the one who has to own myself. She said, now some people will like you and some people won't. She said, there's nothing you can do about that. She said, but as long as I can be true to myself, I can walk down the street and hold my head up high, not be perceived, kind of pretending to be someone I'm not.
Yeah, I love that.
And it takes a lot of courage, as we know.
It does. And as you say, that really does link with sobriety because, once you've ditched the booze, you can actually get back to that authenticity. Doesn't mean you're going to be perfect. It definitely doesn't mean everyone is going to like you.
Absolutely.
But it's when you can start to like yourself, isn't it? That's the key.
I think that's what it's about. I think it's about that acceptance of yourself, about those things that maybe cause a lot of self-loathing in us and self-hatred. Almost embracing those and saying, well, okay, you're not such a bad person. These are just other sides of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And being a bit more compassionate with yourself and saying, yeah, most people are like that. You had these very high expectations of yourself.
Yeah,
that you
absolutely.
wouldn't have put on other people, but you did put them on yourself. And for me, that was a lot to do with my self-worth and why I drank, especially. Funny enough, you mentioned that Elton John party. That was the first time, my first sobriety, in actual fact.
Okay.
I must have been sober a few months and I was not enjoying it. I was not having a good sober time. That was, I stayed sober 18 months the first time. But, going to that party, all I could think about was, shit, what a party to be drunk at.
Exactly.
It was just incredible. And I was watching all these people around me have this incredible time. And I just remember feeling almost like I was moping and just not being happy in my own skin.
Yeah, that's such an important point. I mean, I constantly bang on now about how we have, well, number one, we have to accept that the first period of time, you don't really know who you are. You actually, it feels really quite chaotic and quite raw, and you feel exposed, and you don't know how to behave, and suddenly you're not the same person, the same, party guy, party girl, rock and roller you were before. It's very odd. So that's number one. We have to accept that. But number two, it's so important to focus only on what you're gaining. You have to focus on what you're gaining and play that tape forward, don't you?
Definitely.
Yeah. But was Elton sober at that point then?
Elton was sober at that point.
He was.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. He was. And I remember another friend of mine who was there that night, John Reed.
His remember, manager,
was Elton's manager at one point. I remember him telling us like a week later, he said, oh, someone at that party relapsed after 7 years off the booze.
Wow. And
I could so understand it. Yeah. I just thought, God, if you were gonna relapse, it would most likely be getting caught up in all of that.
Yeah.
But what I've learned for myself is there's never any need
Yeah.
whatever's going on for me, and whether that's being in times of high excitement, being in wonderful situations, to being in the most terrible
Yeah.
situation, which
Yeah.
which I was at the end of Barbara's life.
Yeah.
The drink was not going to
It's
make
never
any.
the answer. It's all an illusion, isn't it? All the,
Yeah,
the glitter and the glamour of that party. Alcohol is so ingrained in
yeah.
that, in celebration, well, and commiseration, but, celebration. We can't say the word celebrate without thinking of goddamn champagne. We can't actually say it. You go try and buy a birthday card for somebody. It was certainly a
Yeah,
guy, a 21-year-old guy. Forget it. You won't find
yeah,
a birthday card that doesn't include, So it's all those associations, and our unconscious mind just says, what the hell? You're depriving yourself. You're not having this lovely time that everyone else is having. It's actually BS, isn't it? It's utter BS.
Oh,
So
absolutely. Because when I woke up the next morning after being on a bender, there was no glamour in
No,
that.
absolutely.
There was
Absolutely.
no joy in the anxiety that I was
No.
feeling, and the
No.
paranoia that I was feeling, and
Absolutely.
how sick I felt.
Yeah,
I
know.
wake up every day. Getting sober, I have to tell you, was the best thing I ever did in my life.
I know. I love that.
In
I know.
every single
So
way.
how many years is it now?
It will be a day at a time. 21 years on January the 2nd.
Oh my God, how brilliant. I just absolutely love the fact that it doesn't matter how many years it is, it's still so special. And after, I'm coming up to 5 years, and after my first year, I remember thinking, I've done all the firsts, and, I wonder whether it's just going to feel flat. Maybe it's just going to kind of level out. No way. It just gets better. Every single year it gets better. And the only regret is bloody do it sooner, right? Oh,
I know.
God.
I think we're all meant to be where we're meant to be at the time that we decide we've had enough.
Yeah, it's true.
And when we want to start a new way of life, and there's not a lot you can do before that.
It's true. It's true.
What's gone has gone.
Yeah.
We learn. We try to correct certain things as we go forward, and also we can enjoy being in the now, which is so well.
Yeah, totally.
In the day, that that expression, which is the hardest bloody thing to do, because we're either feeling guilty or in fear of the past or in fear of the future. What's going to happen? I know it's a constant state of anxiety. It really is. But tell me, take me back then, Scott. Just briefly, for anyone who hasn't read the book yet, just share a little bit about how you first met Barbara, and just a tiny bit about those early days. It's a lovely story. Yes, certainly. Well, it was kind of a bizarre way that we met. My mum and Barbara actually had gone to dancing school together when they were 11 years of age.
Wow.
So, they didn't remain best friends all through their lives. Obviously, Barbara's career took off. She went off into a different direction than mum's life. And also, she also knew my dad when she was about 18. Mm-hmm. When she used to start going out to clubs and dance halls and things. So she got to know him. And this was before mum and dad had met. So they both realised they had this mutual friend that they both knew. Cut a long story short, over the years, messages went backwards and forwards with mutual friends. And I'd been out of drama school about a year. I was living in London. Family were down in Hove. And I popped down to see mum and dad one weekend. And mum said, our old friend Barbara Windsor's down here doing pantomime. It's her night off tomorrow. She's coming for dinner, and I think it would be lovely if you stayed and met her. And I said, I don't know why I said this, Janey. I said, well, I'm sure she's really nice. I said, but I've actually got something to do in London, and I don't know if I really want to have dinner with you two and Barbara Windsor, which was the most bizarre reaction, which I've never understood why I said it. Maybe I thought I was too cool. I don't know. But she said, well, I'm surprised, Scott. You've just left drama school. She's, really knowledgeable. I thought you'd find it really interesting. And I suddenly thought, yeah, I would actually. Anyway, I went to pick her up. She was staying with the most lovely actor called Victor Spinetti at his house in Brighton. And I knocked on the door, and she opened the door, and I said, hi. I said, I'm Rita's son, Scott. And she went, oh, you'll have to come in, love, because I'm not quite ready. Well, she was ready. She had a coat, she had her bag, her gloves were on. And then she told me a bit later, she said, oh, the reason I asked you in is because I wanted to get a better look at you. She said, I couldn't work out how old you were because I looked ridiculously young, although I was 29. She thought I was about 19. And it was just one of those things. We just, from that first meeting, from that first car journey when I drove her up to the house, we just clicked. We just found it easy to talk to each other. And we most likely didn't stop chatting for 27 years. I mean, we never didn't have anything to say to each other. You're right. The odd row, we were human. But even so, we could always talk about those things.
But it wasn't always simple, though, was it? Because, I mean, even right at the beginning, obviously she was a lot older than you, but also she was married, wasn't she, at the time? So that's not easy to unpick, is it?
It certainly wasn't easy. I know she was married and she was coming to the end. Well, she'd come to the end of her second marriage. They were basically living separate lives in separate, but publicly no one knew that. So for that reason alone meant that Barbara and I could get to know each other.
Right. Okay.
And she, after a few months, and we didn't nothing happened between us for 6 months after that first meeting, but we stayed in touch with the odd telephone calls. And then one day she phoned me out and said, look, I've just landed a play and I'm a bit nervous, haven't been on stage a long time. Would you like to come and help me learn my lines? So I thought, that old chestnut. So,
I always use that line.
so that, we ended up, the lines were learned, but they were always assisted by a couple of bottles of wine. Then we'd go out and meet friends and it would turn into a real fun slosh night. And it just happened. So
at this point then, she was obviously, I mean, very well known, but I mean largely well known because of movies and Carry On and stuff like that.
Films mainly.
But then I suppose in terms of her sort of fame, as it were, it was a little bit of a lull really before the whole EastEnders thing really catapulted her to success. Is that right? Is that how it went?
No, definitely. I mean, it was a good year. She wasn't in EastEnders for a year after we'd met, and also unbeknown to her at the time, and unbeknown to everyone else, she had a very serious debt that she'd been left with from a business venture during her second marriage. So we found out, I sent her to my accountant. She said, look, I don't know where my money just keeps going. And it turned out Barbara was responsible for this debt of £1 million.
Oh my God.
Now, the great ironic thing was people were calling me a gold digger. I must have been
whereas she was borrowing a fiver off you.
Exactly. I was the worst gold digger you've ever met in your life.
You didn't choose well there.
But, there was a real positive thing to that as well, though, Janey, because it actually meant that we did want to be together for the right reasons. And that was because we genuinely loved and liked each other and wanted to be together. So it was nothing to do with this elaborate lifestyle that we were living.
And then where did the booze fit in then? You were obviously already drinking.
Of course,
So when did what was the sort of the drink and the drugs like for you, as it were? If how bad did it get before it didn't?
Before it didn't work anymore. Well, I'd say I most likely came to alcohol and using quite late. I didn't have my first drink till I was 18. And when I listen to lots of other people's stories, they say, "Oh, I used to get
14,
drunk." Used to nick mum and dad's leftover drinks. I wasn't like that. I drank for the first time at 18. I remember being sick 3 times the first night I drank.
Yeah, isn't it interesting how we don't listen to that? Like, wouldn't you think we'd go, oh, hold on, this is like prawns or something. It doesn't agree with me. I won't do it again. We come back for more.
The worst thing was, in my head, after I'd been sick, most likely the second or third time, I said, oh, I feel much lighter now. I can continue drinking. And that became actually a habit of my drinking. And not a very pleasant subject.
No, God, no.
It went hand in hand with it, almost like a liquid disorder.
Really bizarre, isn't it? I know a lot of people who've said similar things. It's just so weird. Something happens to alcohol's addictive. We know that, don't we?
Basically, your body's rejecting it.
Exactly.
I don't like this. It's not good for me. So anyway, I then started experimenting with drugs. I never liked drugs that were any like hallucinogenic. I wasn't someone who smoked a lot of pot. I liked things that gave me confidence because naturally I didn't have that confidence. So, for me, it was speed or coke. that made me feel very like hyper fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I could take on the world and I could fit in anywhere. A bit like what drink gave me, but just a bit heightened.
Yeah.
So I already had abnormal drinking patterns anyway. So,
Yeah.
the addict in me was already there before I met Barbara. I think what most likely happened was being with her and the attention it caused and the age difference and people commenting and all those things heightened everything. And it was a bit like pouring petrol on a fire.
Yeah.
It just made everything seem exacerbated. And it was like I really took off. Yeah. And my fear kicked in and my paranoia kicked in. So really, I wanted to be comfortably numb by the time I left the house.
Yeah.
And that's what I would do. We'd start off here. I'd say, oh, we'll have a couple of glasses of champagne here. What I was really doing was giving myself the courage to arrive at the event we were going to.
Right. And how was Barbara about that? Because presumably she drank as well, but was she okay with you overdoing it?
Well, she was okay with that. Listen, Barbara had lived through the 60s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It wasn't going to shock her, was it? Let's put it that way.
She'd been there. She'd done it, seen it all. She knows only had boyfriends in the past that were addicts or whatever else. Yeah. So nothing really fazed her. And, for a long time, you kind of keep it under control.
Of course. Yeah.
Just a fun night out. Oh, I overdid it a bit last night.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what happened. Maybe I didn't eat enough. I really felt out of it last night.
Yeah. We're all good at blaming the food poisoning.
Well, exactly.
Funnily enough, I haven't had food poisoning for 5 years. I used to have it regularly. Funny that, eh?
And it's amazing how I'm never sick 3 or 4
times.
Yeah,
exactly.
So it did get to a point where, yes, I started to get out of hand. I couldn't predict how the night would end. And it came to the point where I hit my first rock bottom. And look, as I say, I wasn't ready at that point to really throw the towel in. For me, I wasn't convinced. I was trying to see what I could blame it on, why I got a bit out of control.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the vast amounts of booze I was pouring down my throat, the coke I was putting up my nose. It wasn't that. It was actually to do with my relationship.
Yeah.
And it was to do with the outside world. So I thought, no, what I have to do is I have to leave my relationship for a while. And I need to leave the United Kingdom because it's obviously to do with Barbara's fame.
Yeah.
So I went off to America. So I said to Barbara in a really sad way, because we both really loved each other. I said, I can't deal with all this anymore. By now, EastEnders, the explosion had happened. And, everywhere we went, it was chaos with her and the boys filling Ross and Steve. And I was running away. I was 18 months sober. I was a dry drunk and I was running away. And I thought, great, I'll get to America and everything will be fine. And of course, within 3 days, I relapsed.
Yeah.
And I just thought, oh, this is okay because I can have a few drinks again now. And I can remember the first day that I picked up again. I remember having a cup of tea before I went to bed to prove I'm not an alcoholic. and then waking up at 3 a.m. with this horror thinking, oh, my God, what have I done? And of course, within a very short period of time, I was back where I was.
Back down the booze elevator.
Even with the 18-month break. And sometimes you come back with a vengeance as well.
Yeah.
So to kind of wind forward, I did come back to the UK. Barbara and I did get back together. We got married during that time. For a couple of years, I was okay. I was getting by with the drinking. Everything was wonderful. It was one big party. But of course, I'm an alcoholic, and it wasn't going to stay that way. I'm just someone who shouldn't drink. So it took time, and of course, things got messy again. And unfortunately, I hit another rock bottom. Well, I don't say unfortunately. I say fortunately. The best thing that ever happened to me in my life was on the 2nd of January 2002. I got sober. And I hit my rock bottom. And at that point, I went to AA. I'd experienced it the first time round, but I kind of had one foot in and one foot out. and I did know where to go. So for me, I didn't go to rehab. I went back to the rooms of AA. And I'll be quite honest with you, I did that for 9 years.
Wow.
I no longer attend meetings. Okay. I don't say that that works for everyone. It was a personal choice that I made, but I will say that first 9 years that I attended, I hammered it. I was there twice a day. I sometimes 3 times a day, especially
so the next connection piece was really important for you.
Just to get it under my skin. It really was. And then I came to a point where I thought, well, look, I want to lead a normal life and be able to get on with everything just without drink.
Yeah.
And I need to see if I can do that in my own way.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I have no judgment or anything to say about people that go to AA for 40 or 50 years. God bless them, and whatever works for you.
Yeah, whatever. I really don't think it matters. You know, we had this conversation, didn't we, the other day? It doesn't matter how you get sober. It really doesn't. I've never been near an AA, and it would not be right for me. And I never had a rock bottom either. But I'm still incredibly grateful. It really doesn't matter how you get to the point. What matters is how you stay, how you stay sober, how you stay when you do the work you need to do. You know, lay those foundations. That's it, really, isn't it? So and through this time then, what was going on with Barbara? I mean, did she overdrink, or was she someone who could kind of more or less take it or leave it?
No, Barbara liked to drink. Barbara certainly liked to drink. She certainly, I certainly wouldn't put a judgment on anyone. But
but I just wonder if it, because some people do have an off switch, don't they? They have an off switch after a certain amount.
Well, Barbara had an off switch, which was that she'd have a certain amount, and her kind of eyes would start rolling a bit, and you couldn't really understand much of what she was saying, and that was time to go.
And that was it. Yeah.
Cash out.
Yeah,
she was okay to start again. Do you know what I mean? It didn't affect her life the way mine kind of spiraled and went out of control.
Yeah.
So she was still at this point for the first year or so that I got sober. Barbara was still having a few drinks, and then, funny enough, she got a virus which was called the Epstein-Barr virus. Which is a bit like a ME. And that was when I was about a year or so sober, and I had to care for her at that point. Actually, she came out of EastEnders for a year.
Right.
Literally, you can't get out of bed for 6 months. Your body just collapses. And I remember at the time writing in my diary and saying, "Oh God, is this what I got sober for?" And in actual fact, in later years, I thought it absolutely was, because unless I was sober,
you couldn't have been present for her. Yeah,
I wouldn't have been there. I would have been running out the door to get drunk. So that was a very important lesson for me. And after she had this virus, she just had an aversion to drink.
Oh, wow.
When she first said to
always
me,
a blessing.
She said to me, Scott, "Oh, I'm not drinking." I said, "Look, you don't have to do this for me. I don't need you to come out in sympathy." She said, "You know me, I love a drink." She said, "Scott, I put it near my face, I smell it and I feel sick suddenly."
Right. Isn't that interesting?
She spent like the last, let's say, 19 years of her life sober.
Yeah, brilliant. You see, your body knows. We just have to listen to it, don't we? Have to be willing to listen.
Right. That's exactly right.
That's good.
So yeah, but she was incredibly supportive of me. She understood that, the early part of it was going to be a bit shaky and a bit difficult. And I think we all have to accept that. And that's the power of just getting through that day. Yeah. And that is just thinking, look, today, yes, it does feel tough. And that's most likely because I actually have my feelings.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I can get through this, and it's not going to kill me. And I will make it till tomorrow.
Exactly.
To fight another day.
Totally.
And that's the blessing, when you start to realize that. For me, it was the most wonderful, wonderful thing. It really was. Yeah. And as I say, I'm not saying there haven't been difficult times sober. There have been. I've lost my dad, who I absolutely adored. I lost him 18 months before Barbara.
Right.
I lost my wife, my soulmate of 27 years, but I've never had to drink.
No, exactly.
All those things.
There's nothing that alcohol can solve.
No.
Tell me about what because as we've already said, the book it's really lovely. It is like a bit like an old-fashioned love story, isn't it? It really is. It really is lovely, and you've got a bit of glitz and glamour in there. And but it's also, you're also very open and honest about Barbara's illness. And I know that's something now that I'm guessing that part of wanting to write the book is because you do want to share some of this stuff about dementia and anxiety and illness, because it's still not talked about enough, is it?
No, there's still a shame.
Yes, there is, and it's just so, it's still a little bit taboo, and I don't know if people dare ask. They don't dare ask the questions. So what happened for you for you guys when it first became apparent that Barbara was ill?
Well, when it first became apparent, she started to have problems retaining her lines, and she was starting to go blank a little bit a couple of times.
Must have been so frightening for her. Oh my God.
Awful, because she was, the ultimate
professional. Yeah, exactly.
She had the best memory. She would always be on top of her lines. Everyone knew about her. She was the ultimate pro. And that was, and we kind of decided, well, it eventually convinced her that maybe it was time to step away from working those long hours at East End.
Yeah, because it's grueling, isn't it, that work?
Listen, she'd be the first one to say, no, darling, working in an A&E hospital is grueling. What I do is make believe.
That's true too.
It's relevant because she was getting up at 6 a.m. and she was coming home 8 at night. Yeah. And she was, she was in her 70s.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was all relevant. She did eventually leave. And over the next couple of years, I noticed a decline and symptoms that happen, unfortunately, with dementia. You will notice that there might be some repetitive things going on. You may notice they misplacing things a little bit more. So
you started to suspect it. Was she aware of it?
She wasn't, if that makes sense. And what you do is, especially if the person's a bit older, you put it down to age.
Yeah, just forgetfulness. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I come up the stairs now and I get here and I think,
of course,
exactly. We all do that.
The senior moments, as they say. Yeah.
But things happening that suddenly I was thinking, no, this is a bit more.
Right.
So I said to her, I think we should go and see someone. I said, I think maybe you've worn yourself out. You've learned lines all your life. I said, maybe you've worn your little brain out. I said, maybe they'll give us a pill that will boost the brain cells, because trying to get someone to go to a neurologist, it's a very hard thing to approach.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Without frightening someone, without insulting them, that they think, oh, you think I'm losing senses type of thing. But Barbara did come along willingly, and over the next 18 months or so she had tests and scans, and unfortunately it was diagnosed as Alzheimer's in 2014. From then on, we didn't go public with that till 2018. She didn't want to talk about it. She wanted to continue as long as she could. I think that's the other important thing for anyone experiencing that with a loved one. For as long as possible, keep them active, keep them doing what
and she absolutely did. I mean, I remember meeting her, and it must have been the 25th anniversary of EastEnders, I think it was, something like that. It was not that many years ago. She was just absolutely fantastic. So there were obviously many occasions when she was 100% on it.
Oh yeah, and I think that's also the very confusing thing about dementia. It can be very deceiving.
Yes.
At times you're having conversations with the person and you think, oh, they seem like the
they're cured.
Is that maybe that? Yeah, you think maybe it's reversed itself.
Yeah.
Fortunately, there is no cure. It doesn't reverse itself, and that's where we are with dementia.
But is there anything that you have found that can support, just kind of support it for a bit longer, as it were?
Yeah, I mean, there are treatments, there are certain medications which may give you about 18 months. If you start it at an early stage of the diagnosis, I reckon it gives you about 18 months where it keeps you a bit stronger. But, I was told at the time, he said, you mustn't expect too much from it after that, because the disease will take over. And that's what happens. But we did go public, you see, in 2018.
Mm.
And there was the most incredible reaction to it because Barbara spoke about it very openly and did videos about dementia.
Bless her heart for doing that. Oh my God. I mean, the amount of people who must have thought, God, you've brought it out into the open.
Yes, that was it. They called it the Barbara Windsor effect in the dementia world.
That's right. How brilliant.
Yeah, because people who were like Barbara, who didn't want to talk about it, they were suddenly saying to their families, oh, you know, Barbara Windsor, she's got that thing I've got, she was saying. It was like it was okay to talk about it.
Yeah.
So that's why I have continued campaigning and keeping her legacy going, because it still has a big effect in the world of dementia.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing, just to chip in there, is thank God she hadn't been drinking.
Well,
because that would have impacted as well.
Yeah, but you got to remember what happens also, and I've known of this with people whose loved ones have had dementia. The sober person who has dementia can forget that they don't drink anymore.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So they suddenly just go over to a wine bottle and pour a drink and drink. They've forgotten about the fact they've been sober for maybe the last 30 years of their life.
Wow.
So, you know, there's all these different things that tie in. Luckily, Barbara never asked for a drink.
No.
Once it started taking hold.
Yeah.
So I'm very passionate about raising awareness.
Yeah. I was going to say, what would you like to have happen? What is the, you know, the best good, in inverted commas, that can come out of this?
I think it all has to do with research. I mean, in August, I was asked back to Downing Street just before Boris Johnson left office, and he committed to doubling dementia research to 160 million a year from 80.
Right.
And also, I'd written to him as an ambassador for Alzheimer's Research UK with an idea they had about setting up a dementia task force. Now, this task force would be like the COVID vaccine task force. So it would just specifically be for dementia, to speed up trials, to get something into the system where hopefully we can slow it down, stop it at an earlier stage so people don't have to go through to that horrible end stage. And Boris Johnson committed there to this. He said, I've put aside £95 million.
I remember reading about that.
Yeah, and with your blessing, we'd like to call it the Dame Barbara Windsor Dementia Mission. And I just thought that is the most incredible tribute, the most incredible legacy. But I now have to wait and see whether that's going to be honoured because of, let's say, what's happened with the economy, the living crisis, the energy crisis.
Yeah.
It's very possible that this may not happen now, which will be the most heartbreaking thing that we waited so long.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's also important to say, I don't live in a false world where I believe dementia is the only pressing issue here. I don't. I understand people can't turn their heating on. People have to choose between eating and heating. There are other illnesses out there. The problem with dementia is we have to understand it's the largest killer in the UK now. As far as women are concerned, it's killed more women in the past 12 years than any other disease.
Right. So it's even above cancer and heart disease, is it now?
Yes.
Is it really? Wow.
And also costs the economy £25 billion a year.
I can imagine.
And this is because, let's say with the NHS, for instance, we talk about a waiting list. When a dementia patient goes in for something, let's say like a gallbladder to come out, they can't release that dementia patient, till there's some social care in place.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
The social care system is broken.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That needed fixing. Unfortunately, that was going to be helped next year, but we've just been told by the current government it's going to be delayed by 2 years, what has been put in place. So we're all back to square one, where people will have to sell their parents' homes to put them in a care home.
Yeah.
It's a vicious circle. And I understand that there's not money for everything. But we do have to understand that dementia is a major health crisis. It's not
is your belief then that if we could diagnose earlier, that there's much more that can be done?
There is much more that can be done. It's treatments. It's not even so much the diagnosis, it's the treatments that we need and it's doing the trials, getting more people to sign up to have trials.
Yeah,
and
there are other countries where they manage this much better, aren't there? So
I think there are, but still, there's no cure anywhere.
No, there's no cure. But I haven't researched this at all. But in the back of my mind, I remember that it was years ago. I interviewed Patrick Holford, who has written lots of books on natural health and well-being, and I can't remember if it was it Sweden, or it might not have been Sweden, so don't quote me, but there's either Sweden or Switzerland, somewhere like that, where they test everyone routinely at the age of 50 or 49.
Well, do now.
Yeah.
Which is what they should do, because the other thing is it can start developing 20 years before
exactly. And he was saying that when this test's in place, one of the first things they do is massively increase certain B vitamins. So there's a relatively simple, very cheap natural approach that you can kick in with first, which wouldn't it sorry,
like brain health.
Exactly.
We need to be more educated.
Absolutely. So if we all had that kind of mentality a lot earlier, that might support it, and that wouldn't even be expensive. Not really.
Well, I know. I mean, there's so many different ways to look at it. I mean, trials, treatments. This is what we really desperately need. The further stages of Alzheimer's and dementia aren't pretty.
No, I can imagine. It must have been so difficult for you at the end.
Well, not only for the loved ones,
exactly,
for their family, but also you don't want to see your loved one go through that. That's no way for anyone to end their life in confusion and fear. So that's why I'm so passionate about that side. But I will say I do talk about that very honestly in the book.
You do.
It's full of everything,
it is. It's
great times.
Exactly. It's not a depressing read at all. It really isn't.
It's very honest, and that's what I've learned being sober.
Exactly.
I bring it all back to being sober. None of what I have today in my life, none of the things I've done or do. I've run 2 marathons.
Wow.
I started at the age of 55. I hate running.
I know. One of my sober club members has done this. It's oh my god! People do things that you could never have imagined, because being sober makes you brave, and it makes you open to new stuff that you would never have dreamed of.
You discover things about yourself which you don't even know are there. And it does get better the longer it goes on. It's hard to, if there's someone listening to this now who's in their more early years or whatever else, and you're thinking, well, that's not how I feel. I swear to you, from my experience, please just keep hanging on.
It's so true. I once said I wanted to offer a prize for someone who could come up with a phrase, right? See if you can help me out here, because I want to think of a phrase that isn't really awful and cheesy to say it's the gift that keeps on giving. Which is such a cheesy phrase, but it is, isn't it? It is.
It really, really is. You'll have more hours in the day.
Yeah, God.
I have less anxiety.
Far less,
in my life. That doesn't mean to say that I don't have days where I still feel petrified of life. Some days I wake up, I feel like that. Some days I wake up feeling really flat and low. That's also being human.
Exactly. We used to feel like that when we were drinking as well. We used to have shit days then too.
That's no surprise. That life will still keep happening.
Exactly.
You will still lose people you love. You will still get a day older each day. But making the most of each day and having a bit of fun when you want to, it's also an incredible bonus.
Great.
I'm talking about real fun, laughing from the belly, because something's genuinely funny.
Well, you can experience joy, can't you? I never used to know what that word meant. I just thought it was a word just for church or 5-year-olds. But you can actually experience joy.
Natural highs. You cannot beat a natural high. There's nothing like it to me. And it was really weird. And it's a line I say in the book, which is the first time that I finished the marathon, I said, and I've never sensed euphoria like it. And I say, just think, I used to take Coke for this. All I had to do
I
was
know.
run 26 miles.
Yeah, exactly.
Not
Easy
cheaper.
win. Yeah. Oh, Scott, it's so great to chat to you. And the book is just absolutely lovely. We'll put the link in the show notes. And I wish you every success with that. And it's doing super well. And also wish you every success with, you know, the campaigning stuff you're doing. And it's just brilliant. You're raising awareness. And how cool that you're so passionate and, you know, enthusiastic about sobriety. I just absolutely love it. I really love it. And I think the more people that just get this out, you know, the better. It's just fantastic. So I hugely appreciate you being a guest. Thank you so much.
Not at all. Not at all. I'm really privileged to have been asked. Thank you,
Brilliant.
Janey.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. The book is My Life Loving Barbara Windsor. It's such a lovely book. I'll put the link in the show notes if you want to get hold of that. And I thought it was so great that Scott, you know, he's really humble about the fact that there are other illnesses. Yeah, there really are. But I love the fact that he's campaigning for more research into prevention of Alzheimer's. You know, we need so much more around prevention, not just once the horse has bolted. Let's get in there and look at how we can put some preventative measures in, and how people can be, you know, can kind of just get stuff in place much earlier. So I think the work that he's doing is fantastic. And just how exciting is it that after all those years sober, it's just got that fabulous joy, hasn't it, around it? I absolutely love it. It really, really makes my heart sing every time I chat to someone who's been sober for absolutely years. I'm coming up to 5 years, and that just feels really exciting. I used to think that it was all going to be over after a year, all goes flat, but it really isn't the case, particularly if you carry on and you stay connected. And I think that's the key, really. So on that note, obviously I have to give a plug for the Sober Club. Check it out. We're doing a lot at the moment around, maybe because of Thanksgiving, it kicked it all off, but we're talking a lot about gratitude. So if you do decide to join us in the Sober Club in the next few days, you get an extra free gift, which is a Yoga Nidra meditation. Most of you know Yoga Nidra is not in fact yoga poses at all. It's the yoga of sleep. So it's a meditation. It's a closed eye experience, something I recorded around setting intentions with gratitude. So both things are very powerful, and we get to combine the two. So you get that as an extra add-on free gift if you join us in the next few days. We already give you lots of lovely gifts when you join us in the club as well. And of course, membership includes our online course, Get the Buzz Without the Booze, and our amazing connection of our private group. So yeah, there's my little plug. Please check it out, thesoberclub.com. It's just masses of resources, very low cost, incredible connection. It really is the opposite of addiction, as Johann Hari said. Connection is the opposite of addiction. So make sure you get connected. Of course, it doesn't have to be the Sober Club. Go and find something local to you. Find something that works for you, where you feel supported. When we do our Christmas session on the 3rd of December, one of the things I know I'll end up saying is share your innermost thoughts and wobbles with like-minded people, with people who've been there, done it, got the t-shirt. Not necessarily those closest to you, your partner, your family, your friends. Not because they don't mean well, but because they're not in quite the same space, or they haven't been potentially. And actually you really need to share this stuff with people who get it. And that's the beauty of being able to share things with people in the Sober Club, that someone pops up and goes, oh God, I felt exactly the same way. I do know where you're coming from. Don't feel bad about that. I know where you're coming from. And that's really powerful. Obviously in that session, I'll also be recommending that you do keep the ritual, change the ingredients, because, you know, let's face it, of course there are alcohol-free drinks that you're going to love, and they're going to become important for you at Christmas. So that brings me to tell you about my guest next week, who is Emma from Sober Sonic. So we're going to be talking a little bit about her journey into creating and finding great alcohol-free drinks. So let me know if you're doing this hard thing, if you're just starting out on your sobriety journey. It's good to tell someone. You can absolutely tell me. I will be your cheerleader. Just send me a message. You can always find me on social media at Janey Lee Grace, or you can find me via thesoberclub.com. Tell someone. It's really important to make it real, to be held accountable, right? That's why being in the Sober Club is so good, because it holds you accountable. And even if you've been sober for years, we can hold you accountable for the next thing that you want to do. One of the members said recently she feels as though she's unpeeling different layers of the onion. And then within, you find yourself, right? You come back to yourself. And I've never met anyone who doesn't actually like that new version of themselves. We find self-esteem tough, most of us. But when we finally are able to step in to our authentic selves and really embrace that new sober identity, then usually we quite like that person, or at least we're off to a better start. Let's put it that way. So I'll see you same time next week. Oh, by the way, if you want to buy me a coffee, I've got this little thing set up. It's actually called buymeacoffee.com/Janey Lee Grayson. Mine will be a flat white. So I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by the Sober Club. Please rate and review. And if you want support, accountability and inspiration, and you want to live your best life without the booze, check out thesoberclub.com.